All right, welcome to Tile Coach. I'm going to be showing you how to tile a backsplash. So we're going to be using these really cute little subway tiles. We're going to be doing this in a horizontal stack pattern. These are an Ann Sachs porcelain stoneware. It has a little bit of relief on it. We're doing this job here in San Francisco. I have a high school friend that wanted us to do our backsplash for her. We are taking on a few jobs down here. Zach and I came down this morning. It was a beautiful drive. Went over the Golden Gate Bridge, and we had a good storm the last few days, so everything looks green and fresh, and there's no fog. The winter days in San Francisco can be just incredible, just beautiful. And we live inland about 2 hours away, so it gets colder there in the winter, but as you get towards the coast, it picks up the ocean temperature, so it can be really mild. Beautiful sunny days are awesome here in the winter. But we're getting ready to do this backsplash, and I want to show you how we tile a backsplash. We're going to do this in one day. We're going to use speed set mortar and grout it in the same day, so operating procedure might be a little bit different than what you're doing. I don't recommend doing this if you're a DIYer. Just wait till the next day to grout. But the principles are all the same. We're just going to be working faster. So what I did is made a story pole. I'm pretty big on using story poles. This is a foam shim that I used. So we did a layout. That way we can transfer the layout all over the wall, make whatever marks we need, find out where the best cuts are, etc. On a backsplash, typically you want to go full tile off of the countertop, and then just make sure that you're getting a good cut up here. This cut isn't too visible, but this is a flat bottom cabinet, so a tiny little cut you would be able to see, especially if you're coming up the stairs, so we did need to consider that. So we just take our story pole, and it's got our grout joints marked out. Make sure that I put a spacer down because that's flush with one of the tiles, and then I can see where my grout joints are going to be. And you see, if we go full off of the countertop, we have a nice cut that's about 1.5 inches, which is doable, especially for a small tile like this. So we have the vertical, and then I transferred it up to make sure that we didn't end up with a sliver up at the top here. Got a good size cut up there. It's nice to know where all your cuts are. That way we can also pre-cut a lot of this before we go, especially using speed set. Most backsplashes, you want to start at the center of the range. A subway tile, horizontal stack, this is about as easy as it gets. This is probably a great layout to start with if you're a DIYer. So when we have a range, we want to center our pattern on the range. Again, with our story pole, so these are marked at full tiles. So if I were to take my story pole, this is our center line. So first thing I want to do is find the center line. This line right here is center. So what I checked with my story pole is I went here, this is a full tile. And then if we were to do a full tile, we would have ended up with a tiny little 1/2 inch cut right here, which wouldn't look good. So all we do is we move our layout to the center of the tile. So this mark right here is halfway between there and there. And then I'm going to mark grout joint there, grout joint here, grout joint here. And now you can see we got a much nicer cut there. That's be just over 1/2 a tile. That would look much better than a skinny little cut. So that's the things that's really good. I recommend do a story pole. Then you can really see where everything is. And so with this story pole, we were able to, again, now that I know that's a full tile, butt my stick up to it, and then I was able to make marks, just reference lines. I'm able to see how many tiles are going to be there, and then you can see over here, now we got a nice cut up against the side here, and I did the same thing on this side over here, and you can see that's going to be the cut for that side. So good size cut there, good size cut. This layout's going to work really well. We got the layout, we know where everything's going to be. I'm going to be using a 1/16 inch horseshoe spacer. These are good for setting backsplashes. They sit down nice and flat on the countertop. They're easy to use. That's probably the dishwasher. If you need to get spacers, I have these in 1/16 inch and 1/8 inch on my website, tilecoach.com. Thank you for your support. We're going to be using a 1/4 inch notch trowel. This is a Marshalltown. This is a made in the USA trowel. Again, if you want to get one of these trowels, I have various sizes. This is a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch notch, which is good for this size subway tile. I sell these on my website too. Thanks again for your support. That's what we're gonna be using. We're gonna be using custom speed set, which goes off very fast. So we're gonna be doing this in sections. If you're gonna be doing this over multiple days, you could also use mastic. Mastic's a great way to go. I have a tutorial on a mastic backsplash. I'll put that link in the description below. Nice thing about mastic is that you can cover larger areas. There's better open time with it. Now, open time is the amount of time from when you spread your adhesive, thin set or mastic, the time that it takes for it to start to skin over to where you can't set the tiles on it. Mastic has a very long open time, typically 45 minutes or so. Thin set's usually shorter, usually around 15-20 minutes. Even though the bag says a lot of times the open time's up 40-45 minutes, I find it very rare, only if it's probably cool and high humidity. But most of the time, count on 15 minutes when you spread your thin set to cover it. So the more area you can cover before you put tile on it, the easier the install is gonna go. Now that we know that where our cuts are gonna be, we can go downstairs and start making these cuts. So these are gonna be 5 3/8. So 5 3/8. And I'm gonna need, and count how many cuts I'm gonna need because I have my story pole here. I'm gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of those cuts. So 10 at 5 3/8. I also know, and when you have a story pole and you know that you butt it up against a tile, make sure that you put your spacer down before you do any calculations. But see, now I know I can also make these cuts. I'm gonna make these at 1 inch. That should be a good spacing. You wanna leave a little bit of room there for caulking. You wanna make sure, as I'm doing all this layout, I was also checking to make sure that the countertop was level, because you don't wanna stack off an unlevel countertop. That's why it's really critical for all the trades that you work with to be in sync with each other. If, say, the cabinet guy comes in, he puts cabinets out of level, the countertop guys are gonna come in, they'll try to level, hopefully they level it, but sometimes they don't. They're not thinking about the guy doing the backsplash. The countertop's out of level, you would have to do like point-to-point rip cuts to make up for that. So these guys did a good job. You can see we got a nice level countertop here. And then you wanna check your cabinets before you make any cuts too. Bubbles right in the middle, cabinet's nice and level. In theory, since I've made my story pole, I know where the layout's gonna be, I can make those cuts, I can make those cuts, I can make the side cuts and the top cuts before I even start installing tile, because we're still gonna have to cut around the outlets. So 6 at 1 inch and 10 at 5 3/8. So let's go down to the garage, jump on the saw and make these cuts. We have tiles down here, Zach. Okay, so we got our little 7-inch saw here. This is a sweet little Cobalt we picked up from Lowe's. This is Zach's saw. It works great for these. You don't need a big 10-inch saw when you're doing subway tiles. This is plenty. So yeah, 5 3/8. I need 10 of them. I'm gonna go ahead and cut them. These have a continuous, let me see here, continuous rim blade. It doesn't have the water channel serrations in it. So you can touch this blade when it's wet, when it's cutting. You don't want to touch it when it's running and it's dry because it'll burn you. But once it's running, I can touch it with my finger. So don't be scared when you see my fingers in there kind of close. So I got the rip fence set up for my cuts, 5 3/8. I'm just gonna start running these. Put my hearing protection on. So this blade is cutting this stoneware really nice. You see there's a few little chips on there, but that's a really nice cut. I got my variable speed grinder with a 100 grit pad, and I can just hit these See how nice that is now? So you can do it with a hand stone too. It'll just take a little longer, but you can see the difference in those edges. It's slight, but it does make a difference. The sandpaper does make a nicer edge, so I just hit those. That's all it takes. All it takes right there. So I'll stone these up. We'll make the rest of them. You also see I have a nice little water catch system because we are in the city here in San Francisco. Don't have a whole lot of room. Set up some paper so it catches the splash. Goes right down into a bucket. This is a nice way to keep a clean job site. I don't got water dripping out. That way, you know, when I'm walking around, I'm not tromping it all over the place. I'm trying to get in and out of here in one day, so all of this stuff makes it go faster. So I'll make the rest of the cuts. We'll mix up some speed set and get going. This stuff goes off very quickly. You know, I have a pretty good eye for how much thin set is gonna get mixed up and how much it's gonna spread. You guys might need to do some calculations and break down, you know, quantities of the bag and stuff. I just got, you know, a couple inches of water in there. I'm gonna do about half of this bag is what I'm looking for, so let's see what we got. All right, we got that to a nice consistency. It's loose enough, you know, I want to go on the looser side because it's speed set, it's going to set up, but I definitely don't want it runny. So what's funny here is we got to let this slack, and this is how these companies are with their instructions, so ambiguous. It says right here, so you mix it up to 5 minutes, and then here's the slack time. It says 3 minutes, right? Little clock, 3 minutes, wait. And then down below on the fine print, it says wait 5 to 10 minutes. So I've just found that like these mixing instructions, water ratios are off with these companies. I don't know why. Doesn't seem that complicated. But anyway, so I'm gonna go on the short side. Speed set, we're gonna let this slack 3 minutes, remix it up, take it up, and we're ready to set tile. All right, thin set's mixed up, ready to go. I'm gonna start spreading. I'm gonna start on this one right here. And I'll probably work from this line to this line. You'll also see I did this nice little ledger with the foam shim as well. I put this with some double-sided sticky tape so that I have a place for my tile to rest on. Because it will sag, this is not a non-sag thin set, and these stoneware tiles are pretty heavy, so they would sag. So I set up this little foam ledger strip. I'll pull that when I'm done. Nice thing about the double-sided sticky tape is that it's not punching holes in the drywall that I gotta fill. Not that big of a deal behind a range, but still. Okay. Also, when you're working over a range and you cover it like this, like I did with this beach towel, be very careful if you hear the clicking noise. That means the burners are turning on. Don't burn the house down. Be very careful of this. If you hear that click, 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 make sure you take the towel off right away. You do not wanna, no. I don't even want to mention it. Actually going to come all the way to this line. I also put electrical tape around the GFI plugs because they're hot and I don't want to touch it and get zapped. So Little precautionary things. You know, I've done so many of these that pick up these tips along the way, and I just want to pass them on to you. So I really want you to be successful with your install. That's the goal of my channel, is to make better installs, whether that's contractors, handyman, DIYers. I want better tile installs. It's good for the industry, good for everybody when we have good installs. Bad installs are bad for everybody. All right, so I'm gonna start right here. I am gonna have to put, it's a little awkward, but I'm gonna have to wedge these, horseshoe them. Got a horseshoe here. Okay, go right on the line. Go over. I'm probably just going to be eyeballing this the vertical joint, because these tiles are kind of sizey. You know, they got the handmade look going on. They're gonna be a little off. So you don't get hung up on things not being perfect. I do want to keep everything as clean as possible. It's going to make it so much faster when we grout. If you don't have thin set gooping out everywhere. Appropriate size trowel is important. If you want more information on what trowel size to use, I do have a video. Put that link in the description below. So yeah, you can see we ended up right on our line. So now it's just fill in the blanks, man. Here we go. This horizontal stack is a pretty modern look. I like this, you know, going along with this tile. It almost has like a Zen Japanese feel to it. Works really well in San Francisco here where we're at. But you can see the tiles are sizey, they're off a little bit, so you got to use a little artistic eye when you're adjusting these things. I'm just going to go ahead here. So I also have all these little red wedgies. I love these little wedgies. Again, you can get them at tilecoach.com. These are awesome for making small little adjustments as you need to go, and you'll see me do that here. So I think first thing I want to do is get, let's see, I'm going to have to do that. Make sure I'm staying on my line. This is a 32-inch level. I'm just going to see. Let's get that out of the way. I'm going to check. Yeah, and I'm right on. I'm right on. See, I got this 16-inch Sibylla. This is an awesome level for backsplashes. 16 inches, fits in between the cabinet and the countertop. Made in Germany, high quality levels. Not sponsored, wish I was, but these are great. I've been using them since I started setting tile back in early 2000s. No, what, dang, I've had my company now since 2003. Started setting tile in 1998. So yeah, I've been using these levels since 1998. Kind of dates me there, man. Okay, so those are cuts right there, huh, Zach? So actually, this is a U-cut. So this is going to be a U-cut, so you guys get to see how I do a U-cut. So it's about right there. It's about right there. And then it's going to be about right there. So I got my U marked out. And let's go down and make this cut. Alright, so I'll show you how to make a U-cut. If you can make a U, you can make an L. L is a lot easier. But one of the keys to making a cut, when you want the cut to transfer all the way through the tile to the backside, you need to lift the tile up because the blade is rounded. If I were to just, I'll show you in a second, better, easier to show you. Okay, so you see how the cut's deeper on the front than the back. Because the blade is rounded, you know, that cut is going at an angle. So what you can do is you can either cut from the back, but since you can't see it, I like just lifting it up. I like lifting it up. So now the depth of the cut matches the face of the cut. So I'll do the same thing over here. Again, I probably could have made a line, but I'm kind of eyeballing it. You know, you have the electrical outlets that cover a lot of this stuff. Otherwise, you know, you could also do that. Using your finger as a gauge. That might help. It's an old Indian trick. Now most of the saws we use today, unlike my Target saw that I started doing tile with, have a chop action, making it a lot easier to make these type of U-shaped plunge cuts. You know, this is a pretty delicate cut. I don't have a whole lot of meat here, so you know, I'm gonna have to go slow and be careful, but it's nice to have that chop action. So again, I can touch that blade because it's wet. So I got it here. Now what I'm gonna do is, easier to see like this. I'm gonna go on this side, and I'm just gonna go in from the back side now, and I'll be able to go past this a little bit. Again, the curvature of the blade, I can take this cut past without showing through on the face. So you saw I had to go from the back to extend these lines a little bit. I should be able to just pop this, yep, and then it comes out. So you can clean up the corners a little bit. Again, it's going to be hidden by a plate. Don't feel the need to. But actually I should, because if this was, say, you know, you're going around a niche or something that's finished, you can just take the blade and just very carefully clean things up. So there you go, nice U-cut. So yeah, an L-cut's much easier, right? Because you can just cut down and cut down. U-cut's probably the hardest cut we make, except for if this was taken out of one tile, which is rare that we would have to do that. So we'll get the rest of these cut around the outlets and we'll just keep going here. Because these tiles are sizey, I'm gonna have to take a wedge and drop this tile down almost to nothing there, just to make up for that grout joint so everything stays flush. Combination of horseshoes and wedges, and you just kind of keep checking level as you go. Just take your level after you get your horseshoes in. Take your level and then you just wedge up where you need tile to come up. We're good. All right. Mud's still wet, but yeah, I could probably only do a section about this big with the speed set. It's staying nice, but regular thin set or mastic will be much easier. Okay, Zach, let me get this one marked and you can go down and cut it.
Gather around this table, boys. Bring your shame, I'll lose my voice. Screaming at the gods about the bad we've done. Merle said Mama tried, but the prison still won. Your transgressions are mine as well. Anger grows in my bones if you could not tell. I'll find comfort in company. Lord, forgive us, my boys and me. We're having an all-night revival. Some will call the women and some will steal the Bible for the sake of my survival. Baptize me in a bottle of bean for Johnny on the vinyl. Well, the devil can't scrap, but the Lord has won. And I'll talk to him under rising suns. His sun arose and mine did too. I was coming down, but now I'm talking to you. 'Cause we're having it all night.
All right, so 126, we started about 10 o'clock, I think, setting the tile. So made good progress, got just the last few pieces to set. You see how we used a combination of horseshoes and the red wedges. Just, you know, this tile that isn't perfectly square and straight, different sizes, you kind of just have to keep stepping back, doing little adjustments that you can see. You just kind of want it to be consistently inconsistent, if that makes sense. Here's another little trick. See, I have my thin set combed. It's just starting to glaze over the time it took for us to go make the cuts, and this is speed set, so it's starting to tack over, which is good. I want this to set up, but it's not really tacky to the touch. So one trick, instead of scraping that out and redoing it, just put a tiny little skim coat back butter on your tile, and that's gonna just help it bite to that thin set that's all scraped over, and it's just holding right where I want it to be. Last little cut here. And then it's time to eat lunch. Sydney was so cool. She bought us some burritos and they're sitting there smelling so good, but we couldn't stop. That's the thing with tile, is you just gotta go sometimes until the thin set's used up. There's no real good stopping point. So check this out. Got all the tiles set. That was the thin set. I say we did pretty good. So we'll just stir this bucket down and ditch the rest of this speed set. We actually have one more little bar top to set down there, but so we'll clean this bucket out, we'll let this set up. Probably set that little bar top splash down there, come in, clean up grout, and then grout the one down there. So this is gonna be a long day. It's 1:30, and clean up the tools, get ready for the next step. All right, what time is it, Zach?
6:43.
6:43, we just hopped back in the van, but great day. Zach and I, we kicked some ass. We did the 2 backsplashes, got everything grouted. Sydney's happy, so we're happy. Felt good to get after it. Set the splash, grout the splash, put all the electrical back on, put the stove back in. So yeah, all in all, a great day, a lot of fun. Hope you liked the video. Yeah, hope you learned something from it. Love you. Love being your tile coach. See you on the next video.
For the sake of my survival.
Because we cut out a section for the plumbing.
Okay.
But yeah, I got the curb material so I can drop it off at the
Gather around this table, boys. Bring your shame, I'll lose my voice. Screaming at the gods about the bad we've done. Merle said, Mama tried, but the prison still won.